I'm Jessica Shaw.
I'm Touré.
And this is BingeWorthy.
We tell you what to binge
and what to delete.
Today we're looking at Sarah Silverman's new show, I Love You, America.
The Rundown with Robin Thede.
And the new Netflix show, Mindhunter.
Cheers to more women coming to late nights.
That's a good thing. And thanks to our host, Vinyl in New York City. All right, Jess, let's talk TV. David Fincher's psychological thriller, Mindhunter, is about a pair of FBI agents in the 70s who are traveling the country interviewing incarcerated homicidal maniacs to try to understand why they are the way they are.
What happens to these men is normal, but the way that they process it is not.
I just decided to kill them.
It is not our job to commiserate with these people.
Hello, ladies.
It is our job to electrocute them.
I truly believe there is a vein here that needs to be mined.
If you don't like it, go back to your bedwetting college kids and we'll forget all about it.
Certainly our goal is to be preemptive.
We're the FBI, Holden. That is not our goal.
It's streaming right now on Netflix, and I could not get enough. I love this. It's like a little David Fincher movie at home, but then it's beautiful and deep, and I love the journey of these FBI agents into the sort of bowels of the country and talking to these crazy people about why they did the things they did, and then sort of see this industry of taking these sort of people seriously just happening, because at that point, there's lots of bureaucratic resistance to what they want to do. People don't understand what they want to do. So they're sort of opening the country up to these crazy people can tell us important things.
I mean, it was fascinating. We need to understand what goes on in the mind of a serial killer. The term serial killer did not even exist. They sort of come up with that term over the course of the show. I loved it. And you know, there's a lot of shows, I feel like Law and Order SVU, where there's all sorts of serial killer shows on TV. And they're just very like exploitative, you know, and it's all about how a woman was victimized and raped, and they're constantly showing that imagery. This really it's horrific, the things that they're investigating, but it pulls back so much. And it's very much about the investigators, and it's about the cerebral side of this world.
Yes, it's about the investigators, and they have a whole relationship, and their families come together to have dinner. But the show really shines when they are alone in a prison with one of these killers who are these weirdo people. And I mean, whenever they're talking to someone in blue, this show is at its best. And I love those moments. And I am freaked out, and I am captivated, and I am feeling like I'm there with them. I love all that stuff. I watched almost the whole season in about 2 sittings.
Yeah, me too. 2 days. I watched the entire season. I couldn't stop. I was like, oh, just one more episode.
Just one more.
And watching, it's such a good binge in that way that this is when Netflix is at its best, because I feel like watching, especially Jonathan Groff, who is so good. When he starts this season, he's very buttoned up. He's a little like socially awkward. He can't really read cues. And the more he starts to interview and to really look into and investigate the mind of a serial killer, you see him changing and evolving. And I won't spoil the ending for anyone, but it's a real harrowing end to this season.
I mean, he's a little awkward in the real world toward the beginning. But when he's alone or with his partner interviewing these criminals, and he's just sort of having a conversation with them, and he is this expert
he comes into his own,
Yeah, and they want to do, you know, heavy-handed things or over-academic things, and he just knows this calm way to like get into their head and make them feel like they're friends, which they're like, well, that makes you a great FBI agent. I love this pair. I would follow them, any of this pair of agents. I would follow them anywhere. I will follow them anywhere, into the depths of hell. Super binge. I love this show. I did watch about 7 episodes really quickly, and I will watch the final 3 tonight.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love this show.
It's great. Yeah, I binged it already. I can't wait till everyone. I mean, not everyone is like, people have lives other than me. Like, just because I watch 10 episodes in a weekend, I applaud everyone who has a better life than I do. But I also can't wait until everyone catches up with this show, because there's so many moments I want to talk to people about. Even how they end the season, without spoiling anything, there's no resolution to different things. They plant the seeds over the course of the season. You know, it's not spoiling much. The intro to every episode, you see what appears to be someone plotting something. And
some other crime that's going on, bubbling on.
And how they resolve that or don't resolve it is very interesting, and a very interesting choice that Fincher made.
I mean, I love this show so much. Super binge, and I highly recommend it for everyone. It just sucks you in, and you want to just go with them everywhere.
Yeah, definitely binging the show. Binged it, love it, can't wait to talk to everyone about it.
Coming up next, we'll discuss the ladies joining late night.
And season 8 of The Walking Dead.
Welcome back, I'm Touré.
I'm Jessica Shaw.
And this is BingeWorthy.
We tell you what to binge.
And what to delete.
I'm very happy to say that 2 new late night shows just premiered, and they're both hosted by women. Sarah Silverman's I Love You America comes to Hulu October 12th with new episodes every Thursday night. And The Rundown with Robin Thede airs Thursdays at 11 on BET.
Man, my white friends are right. Ta-Nehisi gets it. Damn, he is fine. For real? He's pro-Trump? He is fine, though. More than fine. He sell out my core principles fine.
First of all, it's about time. I mean, right? I mean, there just feels like every late night show is hosted by a guy.
Well, we already have Samantha Bee and Chelsea Handler. Let's
Right.
not forget them. But yes, we have so
yes, women,
many.
Women have enjoyed their little corner.
They have their own, but yes, we have so many white men overrunning late night. And yes, it's great to have some new blood.
Yeah.
And we should open the doors up. It should be everybody gets a chance to host late night.
100%. Let's start with Robin Thede first, because I really like this show. I thought she has a really good voice. I liked her comedy. I liked the open of the show. My one problem with that show was like the musical guest. I get that you're trying to be a late night show and take, it's sort of like when you think about really fancy restaurants that do deconstructed spaghetti and meatballs. That's how it felt to me. It was like, they're going to deconstruct a late night talk show and have the musical guest, but have it like, in
a pop-up in a bodega.
Right, exactly. And it was like, okay, I see what you're doing. You're taking the DNA of a late night show, but you're changing it up. That was the weakest part. The best part is when Robin is talking to the audience, because she's so funny, she's so relatable. You feel like you're having this conversation with your smart, funny friend. So I really liked her. You didn't?
I mean, I don't want to say I didn't like her. I wanted it to be funnier and more engaging and smart. I know Robin is funny and engaging and smart. I didn't see that fully come out on this show. I thought it would, it didn't kill me. It did not make me need to watch more. And I'm like, I don't want to be in a position where I'm like, I'm happy that it exists. I'm happy that Robin's getting her shot. But I don't want to watch it. I don't want to be in that position, but I feel like I'm almost there. Like, I'm glad this show exists. I'm glad a black woman and this black woman is getting her shot. But I don't.
But the first episode didn't blow you away.
Yes, it didn't blow me away.
Here's the thing that I felt this way both about Robin Thede and Sarah Silverman. Here, the first episodes of 2 late night shows. Late night is so hard to find your voice. Yeah. And I mean, look what happened with Colbert. When I'm not talking about his Comedy Central, but his CBS incarnation. Yeah. The first year was a disaster.
Jon Stewart's first year was not.
Yeah, you need time to sort of find your voice, to settle into what your show is going to be. So in that sense, I felt like I like what Robin Thede is showing at first. Like, I feel like there are moments that are rough around the edges. And
so Chalmette is a working-class suburb of New Orleans that sits right on the banks of the Mississippi River in southeastern Louisiana. And the Standers are a family of crab fishermen who were displaced during Hurricane Katrina. They are Christian, gun-owning Trump voters who like to gather their whole family around for big Cajun dinners. And on this day, they're going to be joined by a species they had not met before.
Sarah Silverman, though, she's been around for a while. She's had shows before. She's been a star for a long time. I thought she would roar out of the box a little faster. There's a lot of interesting parts to this show. It's still not fully formed. It kind of reminds me of the old Letterman on NBC, which is a bit zany and breaking the taboos or breaking the rules of what you do and don't do. So there's something there.
Here's how I felt about Sarah Silverman.
And I say this, I love Sarah Silverman.
Right.
The only bigger Sarah Silverman fan might be you, but
I know.
I'm a huge
I worship
Sarah
her.
Silverman fan.
I worship her. My problem with that show is not with her, even though she's the show. In some ways, I feel conflicted as a viewer. And you and I have talked about this off the show and everything. On one hand, I commend what Sarah Silverman is doing. This country needs a lot more of people talking to one another. We're such a divided country at this
Now
point.
you're talking about the segment where she goes to a Trump family
Yes.
in Louisiana
Right.
and sits with them.
She's doing that thing where, blue state person goes to the red state,
Yes.
and it's like, who's the fish out of water here?
Yes.
And I get it, and I commend it. On the other hand, as a viewer, as I was watching that, I was incredibly uncomfortable
Right.
because while I think it's great to try and find common ground, and certainly this country needs it, the other side of that is I felt like when does it cross over from being, hey, let's all have a conversation, to normalizing?
Right. When we're talking about the other side has opinions that are outside of the liberal bubble or whatever, we need to understand the pain that they're feeling. Right now we're back on MSNBC. The pain that
Right.
they're feeling because of economic changes, because of NAFTA, because of globalization. Great. We need to understand that. New York, San Francisco, DC, we may not understand that as viscerally as we need to.
Right.
So we need to understand that. But when we get to the moment where the young matriarch of the family is telling Sarah Silverman that really deep down, I don't believe Obama was born in America. He's an immigrant. And I really, really believe that.
Right.
So now we're arguing the lie that you have swallowed. And
Right.
Sarah Silverman's not arguing. She's just, what do you think about Obama? I think
Right.
he's not from this country. Really?
I mean, but no, in her defense, she does. She's like, that's crazy.
She does think that's crazy, but I mean, and she's pushing
but the
it.
whole
And like,
segment is about, the whole segment is, can't we all just get along?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it just, I was like, oh, I don't know if I can watch that every week. I don't know if I can watch, they're not going to have, birthers on every week, but
Right.
I don't know if I can watch something like that every week. But I do love watching Sarah, and I think she's such a
love
compelling
Sarah,
voice.
But then there's this whole interview with somebody who has changed, and it wasn't as compelling as the setup and the intention suggested it would be. I thought it would be much more powerful if this person's had this significant life change. And some of these setups, which she's suggesting she will be doing for a while, don't really drive toward the Sarah Silverman who we know and love, right? And
Right.
the thing that the where her real funny comes from, doesn't exist within these things of talking to somebody who's changed or talking to somebody who's not like her in the bayou or what have you. So then you start to wonder, where does the funny come from? And she sort of is mocking the woman late night, male late night thing with this sort of extra dorky male late night host
Right.
who exists in the corner, who she can literally tell to shut up whenever she wants.
I like
and,
that. I thought that
right,
was funny.
She climbs into bed with him at the end of the show, which
Right.
is, yeah, that was funny and clever. But we need a little bit more from her if this is going to become something that a lot of people need.
Right,
late
if
at
it's
night.
going to become appointment late night viewing, which not every late night show is, but that's the goal, obviously, with both of these shows.
And neither of these shows are topical, which is a bit, right? They don't exist in the moment.
I thought
You
Robin Thede was
it?
more topical.
But I think you could watch it even 2 or 3 weeks later, as opposed to
Right.
John Oliver or Samantha Bee, which would seem dated 2
Right.
weeks later.
Yeah, I keep coming back to the fact that late night shows have a really hard time coming out of the gate.
Yeah.
It's very hard to establish yourself in late night, especially doing, takes on what's going on in the world right
Yeah.
now. It's tough. So I feel like I'm willing to give both of these shows a chance.
So are you gonna
I'm going to
binge?
binge both of these shows.
You're going to binge both these shows?
Both of them.
Wow,
Sisterhood is powerful.
Sisterhood is powerful. I mean, the promise of Sarah Silverman and the person who she's been for, 15 years on our public stage.
Right.
That makes me say I want to give her a chance. And I watched every episode of the Sarah Silverman program.
Yeah.
Love that show to
Brilliant.
death. So I would continue to binge or watch that. Robin is running up against what we've talked about before. It's a golden age of television. I got a lot of stuff in my queue. I'm going to add Robin Thede if she's not going to crush it with topical comedy that's making me laugh and opening my eyes. And I feel like Jessica Williams might trod some of that ground in the near future better. So if I have, if I'm ever going to see my family, I can't binge everything that's decent. So
would you agree to a probation binge?
I would agree to a probation binge.
Okay, give it a month. I feel like that's fair. I feel like with a late night show, give it a month.
See, that's the medium binge level that I'm looking for.
You don't want to give up too early.
Right.
You cannot give up too early.
But I can't get in a relationship with you yet. I haven't seen enough.
The post-apocalyptic mega hit The Walking Dead returns for an 8th season on AMC Sunday, October 22nd at 9. In case you missed all of last season, here's what you need to know. It seems like Big Bad Negan and his killer bat Lucille are about to get an ass whooping from Rick Grimes.
What? I don't die.
Last season was so brutal. It was just like, oh my God, I cannot be beaten down week after week. And the ratings showed it. I think the show lost a lot of viewers last season. It was just, I was just like, I can't watch Negan just like brutalize everyone more. Thank God, the season premiere, you see Rick and you see these
Revolution.
Yes, there's a revolution. You see something happening, and we won't spoil it, but it felt like the old Walking Dead.
I love Negan, his power, his sort of evil charisma, his control over his corner of this world. I kind of wished that, I mean, he was by far, to me, the most compelling character on the whole thing. I wish
he's amazing.
He would wander off onto his own show, and we would just follow the Negan show, and then Rick and them could continue in their world over here. Look, this show does so well at keeping us in the state of anxiety and stress for a whole hour, and there's like a momentary lapse where like, okay, now we're all alone and we can have a tender moment and the music is playing and we can talk to each other. And then of course here comes a walker or an enemy or whatever, and you're just stressed out for the whole I love this moment when they're like, the humans are like sitting on the bridge and there's just like thousands of walkers just like, and it's interesting how they can play with your emotions and keep you in just this sense of just peril for like 48 minutes.
And even, this is not spoiling anything, but there are some moments where we see an older Rick in the season premiere, and those images have been out there. It's not, it's not a spoiler, but we see older Rick and we see Michonne, and what does that mean? Is that a fantasy sequence? Because we are going to see it a lot in the season premiere. Is it some kind of time jump? Certainly in the comics, there is a time jump when Rick looks like that. So comic book readers will know that look.
Right.
And on the other hand, it kept me very engaged in the show in season 8. There have been times when I've watched the show, and I've watched the show since the beginning, and there have been times when I've been like, okay, like the walkers, they're walking, and like we're gonna see them, that brutal, and like the sound when whoever, like whether it's Daryl in the crossbow or Michonne, and that sound of just when they kill a walker, and it's like, all right, I've seen it. You're in peril. You're not in peril. You escape. Whatever. And
your
this
life sucks. You're about to die. Who cares?
Post-apocalypse. Whatever. But this did feel to me like it was something new. Like we're covering some new ground, and we're maybe even fast forwarding a little bit and playing with some time jumps, which I think is great.
It did feel a little fresh to see Rick leading this revolution, pushing back against Negan, and sort of reclaiming his power. It was, as much as I love Negan, it was a little depressing to see him just sort of cowering and like under his control, and like, this is greater. Like, I like this fight. I want to see where this goes.
Yes.
So, I mean, look, The Walking Dead is one of the most popular shows on television. You must binge it. You have to watch it, because otherwise you're out of half of the conversations. And it is a great show on many levels. It's more emotionally engaging than I thought at the very beginning.
Right.
There were moments where I was like, it's just so very slow. And now the tension is just gripping. So
Yeah, I
yes,
mean,
binge
my
this.
one definitely, and I have binged the show, and I will continue to watch it, every week when it's on, and it is appointment viewing on Sunday nights, 100%. My one quibble with the premiere, and it's weird to even talk about it because I don't want to spoil anything. There is a move that Rick makes or doesn't make in the premiere that is going to drive fans crazy. And that's my one quibble with the episode, that I just feel like there's something that Rick does that is such a colossal error and just a misguided choice that it almost seems out of character. And I will be curious to see how fans react to that moment.
Coming up, we'll check in on Blackish.
And we'll decide who gave the performance of the week.
Welcome back, I'm Touré.
I'm Jessica Shaw.
And this is BingeWorthy. We tell you what to binge.
And what to delete.
Now we're going to check in on Blackish in its 4th season, and now on Tuesdays at 9 on ABC, the Johnson family has a new baby, but they're not over milking him for his cuteness yet.
We're home.
All right.
Hop down, son.
Wait,
This is our same house.
You know we're only moving till Tuesday.
what?
You're born into a family of idiots.
Usually shows go on for a while, and then they bring in a cute kid to sort
Like
of
Cousin Oliver.
spice in the mix, right? Who was it? It was Raven Simone on the Cosby
Sure.
Show, right? So, but they're not over. This is more about the postpartum depression issues that Rainbow, the mom, is going through. I just love this family, and it's really about Kenya Barris and his eye as a creator. Keep giving them sort of smart, interesting, fun things to do. The kids are not too old for me yet. Normally, eventually, at some point, the kids will get too old.
Right.
The older ones have to go off to college sooner or later.
Yeah.
But I love this family. I love their interactions. There was a animated little vignette about slavery based on I'm Just a Bill from Schoolhouse Rock that was so smart and so funny and so real. And this show trods that line of smart, funny, and real about race that like no other show is able to do.
And you almost think like, it surprises me every week
Yeah.
that it's on network television, because I feel
Yeah.
like we live in this era now where network television makes you want to die inside a little bit. You know what I mean? Like you're just like, okay, Kevin can wait. I see you. And then if you want something clever and compelling and
Right.
interesting and envelope pushing and all
Right.
those things, you go to cable, you go to
Netflix.
Better Things or
Right.
Atlanta or
AMC,
or
right.
AMC or
Right.
Curb. There's any number of cable shows that you can find that on. This show is so
Goes there.
consistently amazing. I agree with you. The season premiere was out of this world. It was incredible. And episode 2, to follow that up with an episode about postpartum depression, Tracy Ellis Ross kills it in
Yes,
that episode.
yes.
I watched that half hour, and you think network television, you gotta have, you're like, beat, laugh, beat, laugh. I was weeping
Yep.
watching that episode. It was so powerful.
She throws her mother-in-law out of the house, and it totally works. It's not one of these overwrought moments where
No.
you're like, the show seems human and real
Yeah.
rather than this sort of sitcom world where you're always like, that's not the way that anything goes in
Right.
the real world. It's very honest, and I loved that moment, that portrayal. And this is my kids' favorite adult show, right? So right after the premiere, the next day, they're like, can we watch Blackish? When the mom gets thrown out, they were like, is she gonna come back? And I'm like, it's a sitcom. She's
Right.
gonna come back.
But how powerful is that moment when you think about like the great couples on television? How powerful is that moment where Anthony Anderson, who was so good on this show, where he backs her up. He backs up his wife.
yes.
And the whole time you're watching that, and you're like, this is the dream family. Like, I love watching this family. And whereas other shows, and even more popular shows like Modern Family, let's say, they just, I feel like late in, there are so many episodes and seasons into their run. They're just
Yeah.
sort of, riding out on like what they've done already and
Sure.
riding out on the success that they've had and everything. Blackish in season 4 is doing new things, is consistently so strong. Like the first 2 episodes of this season blew me away. I'm so happy that this show exists.
No, I am too. And just sort of, we talk about normalizing, the idea of normalizing an upper middle class black family that is intact, that is working, that is sort of dynamic, that is doing their thing, getting these kids on their way to college and productive lives. I'm all for that. I definitely want to see as much of that as possible. So I will continue to binge Blackish. 4th season, I'm still all in on Blackish. How about you?
Definitely binging this show. It is my favorite network sitcom.
Hell yeah. Performance of the week goes to living legend Sylvester Stallone for his guest role on This Is Us.
I had the soldier number 2.
Are you following me? Explain something to me. Why do they always have to put melon and fruit and things in the water like, you know, there's just like swamp animals in there? I remember when water, ready for this, was just water.
How good was he? I loved seeing him. Of course, Kevin's starring in this movie with Sylvester Stallone, and he's like, Stallone kind of befriends Kate, played by Chrissy Metz, and they have this like kind of heart-to-heart moment about the dad. And the whole time I'm watching, I'm like, this is such stunt casting, whatever. How good is Stallone going to be playing himself? He's really good. He got me. Wow. He got me. I was like, I think I'm getting it. I mean, I cried during This Is Us anyway.
You do.
I cried with Stallone. Like he actually, he made me feel feelings.
You always cry during This Is Us, but this time you cried during This Is Us.
Exactly. And that's how I know that it would not be a performance of the week if my eyes were like dry. Then I'd be like, absolutely not. You are not a performance of the week. But the fact that Stallone was on camera and I was like, yes, you fit seamlessly into it. You know how it is. There's always some stunt casting and like someone really famous shows up onto a show and I'm like, oh, you're like ruining the alchemy of this show. I thought he worked perfectly. I loved seeing him. It was just the right amount and I thought he killed it. Creed 2, got my tickets. And now, in honor of Sarah Silverman and Robin Thede's new forays into late night, we're letting you know which late night shows we cannot live without. What you got?
Usually at midnight, I'm watching Scott.
Is that like at midnight?
No, AT midnight. I'm watching Scott Van Pelt on SportsCenter. It's like the wallpaper of my life. I mean, I don't even think of it as like a show. It's just like, you know, that's my guy and midnight comes and like he's talking sports and he's talking betting and he's talking just sort of what's going on in the world and like I dig him and I dig sort of the loosen the tie, loosen the segment, loosen the structure vibe of that midnight Sports Center and you know Scott Van Pelt is cool. It's my guy.
I have no idea who that is, but like good
girl.
for you. My shows.
Why does this male bonding threaten you so?
I mean, is he related to Lucy Van Pelt? Like, I don't, that I can talk about, like, forever.
I can't with you.
To me, Last Week Tonight with John Oliver is such appointment viewing. I love that show so much. There hasn't been a weak episode since he started. He blows me away. He's so funny. The writers are so clever. They really found that perfect marriage between being very topical and biting and just searing, but also being so silly and goofy at times. And I absolutely love that show.
You know, it's easy when you have a week to prepare. All right, that's it for our show. Thanks for watching.
I'm Jessica Shaw.
I'm Touré, and this has been BingeWorthy.
Cheers to even more women in late night.
Sounds great.